I'm a Grandmaster player, top 500 really, but my teams are holding me back. That's why I'm stuck in bronze, Lone Hawk. Can't you help me? Can't you boost me or something? I'm stuck in Elo Hell, man. I don't know what to do. Actually, for the longest time, I didn't believe in Elo Hell. In really any game, I thought Elo Hell was a myth, and it was just an excuse players used to blame their teammates and make it seem like they're a better player than their rank showed. However, as I have looked into it more and visited various subreddits where people tell their climbing stories and really go in depth on what they think it takes to climb in Overwatch, I am now fully convinced Elo Hell exists, but not even close to the way most people describe it. What do I mean? Well, we're gonna have to take a full look at Elo Hell in today's video, what it is, how you can overcome it, and how it isn't what most people think. The conventional Elo Hell model, or the idea that surrounds it, is that there are zones, or maybe a single zone in a competitive game, where teams are so random in skill level, there's no way to effectively climb, because it's basically a 50% chance that you get the good team, or the enemy team gets the good team, because of a poor matchmaking system. That's the thought, at least. Every game is kind of determined by chance and not by you. This is the model I don't believe in. I don't think Elo Hell is this thing that is impossible to escape from. I do not think games are decided by chance, and I do not think this version of Elo Hell exists. Why doesn't this Elo Hell exist? I say, well, it's all statistics really, and we're going to take a look at something called the 40-40-20 rule, which states that 40% of your games in Overwatch are lost and out of your control. 40% are won no matter what you do because your team is just better. And 20%, only 20% of games in Overwatch you actually matter in. This theory was actually created by someone who plays League of Legends, a mathematician who plays League of Legends, and although the numbers may change for Overwatch, it may not be 40-40-20, it may be, 45-45-10, or 35-35, 30, something like that. The theory still holds true. There are games that are out of your control. That is correct. But statistically speaking, an equal amount for you will be out of your control in your favor and against you. So you can't really blame Elo Hell in that regard. And that's where most people get the concept of Elo Hell from. They see games that they lost and didn't have any control over and immediately blame Elo Hell for the loss. They don't actually see the games that they win. Like, there are plenty of games I win in Overwatch where I did nothing. I played like trash, but we still won the game. That's the 40-40-20 rule in action right there, and I've actually done more research now. It is actually called the theory of winning and losing, and the reason it's 40-40-20 in League is because there are 5 players on a team. You make up 20% of your team, so that's the amount of games you control, which would mean in Overwatch, you control 16% of your games. Now, that does seem like a pretty small number, and like I said, I believe these aren't hard numbers. You can definitely influence more games if you're better, but as a concept, as a theory, there are going to be games that are out of your control in both ways, for you and against you. So now that we've dispelled that version of Elo Hell, what do I think Elo Hell actually is? Because I did say it does exist, yes. Well, I've actually got 2 theories, and it could actually be a combination of both. Let's talk about my first theory, which is that Elo Hell is a mindset, not a set zone where the game is actually trying to screw you over. The Elo Hell that I believe exists is in the form of a mindset, which means as you get closer to the rank you think you deserve, or as you lose more games and you don't get closer to the rank you deserve, you start to trust your teammates less. Even though your teammates change every game, and even though you have no idea how good they are, you naturally start to trust them less. And through trusting them less, you play worse because you take all this responsibility on yourself. You take it into your hands the whole game. Killing people, that's your job. Keeping people alive, that's your job. Healing people, yeah, sure, that's your job too. I mean, you take on all this responsibility when you don't trust your team. And the reality is, your team makes up more of the team than you do. There are 5 other people, and there's 1 you. So trying to take on the role of all 6 people isn't gonna work really well. One easy way to solve this problem is just better communication. Ask your team what they're struggling with and try to help them with it. But don't try to take on the role of everybody on your team. That's never gonna work out. For example, and I'm guilty of this one myself, when you're playing Reinhardt and you feel like your team isn't killing anything, it's not uncommon to go in with your hammer and just start swinging away, charge at people, use your fire strike, just try to go for kills, because clearly your team can't do it, so you've got to do it, right? No, that's not the way to do it. Reinhardt's job is to shield his team, occasionally get some pins, and deal damage in certain occasions, not always fill the DPS role. So as the Reinhardt in that situation, it may look like Elo Hell exists. Nobody's dealing dealing damage, so I've got to do it. But the reality is I went in swinging every single fight, and I wasn't protecting my team. And they were going to deal damage, or even if they weren't going to deal damage, I wasn't the right hero to do it. I need to communicate with my team, ask them, hey, why are they winning the shield war every single time? We have a Reaper and a Soldier 76. Or maybe, hey guys, I feel like you're not really following up on my charges. Can we get a little bit more of that? Or just ask them why they're not with you or where they are, and try to change your playstyle accordingly. Communication can solve a lot of problems. If nobody's following up with you, you can tell them to follow up, but they probably won't. I mean, this is solo queue, right? If they're not following up, they probably won't know to follow up. So instead of expecting a follow-up, change your playstyle accordingly to one that doesn't require a follow-up, or move where they are so you follow up on them somehow. You're going to need to figure these things out as you climb the ladder. And as you get higher, people get better with this. That's true. But as you are lower ranks, communication is going to be crucial, because not everyone knows this, and not everyone's going to play the way you have envisioned in your mind. So I'm not saying you have to trust your teammates. Don't trust your teammates. Screw them. They're probably worse than you. If you're watching a YouTube video about how to play Overwatch, you're probably a better player. That's just my 2 cents on the issue. But you should try to accompany their playstyles. You can't change theirs, but you can change your own. If you're Reinhardt and your team's never following up on charges, maybe cut back on the charges, move where they are, selectively charge people from different angles. Stuff like this is going to help you get out of Elo Hell. So to sum up our first version of Elo Hell, the one I just described, Elo Hell is basically you not trusting your teammates, and rightfully so. Not everybody knows what they're doing, but instead of distrusting them and taking all of the responsibility on yourself, you should adjust your playstyle to match theirs. Their playstyle may be suboptimal, but it's better for everyone to be using the same suboptimal playstyle than for everyone to be using a different style, trickling in, everyone going different ways, chickens with their heads cut off. That wouldn't be good. Now, I did say there was a second version of Elo Hell that I also believe kind of exists. I'm not sure which one of these is more prevalent, but I do believe both of these versions of Elo Hell are a real thing. And it kind of ties into the first one. In my second vision of Elo Hell, what I think it is, if you think about a player and the skill they play at, it's often not the same as the skill level they're at. For example, let's take a low platinum player, for example. This player is in 2600, but for some reason, he is playing like a diamond player, maybe a 3100 player. He is playing at a level 500 SR above where he actually is. So by definition, he should climb, right? Yes, but he doesn't just climb linearly. In my second version of Elo Hell, the closer this player gets to the rank they deserve, the harder it will be to climb. Because statistically, if we go back to that 40-40-20 concept I mentioned earlier, the 20% of games that you have an impact over, it is now becoming harder and harder to win those games. Before, the low platinum player would win almost all of those 20% of games because, well, he was better than the rest of the team. But as he gets closer to the rank he's playing at, other people are also going to be contesting that 20% of games, and it's going to be a lot harder to actually win them. This creates a feeling of Elo Hell. Because that 20% of games that are in your control are now much harder, it feels like, well, almost 60% of games, the 40 plus the 20%, are now out of your control, and it really feels like it's a lot harder to win than it should be, while at the same time, you feel like you're playing better than everyone else in the game. And that's because you are. You might be at a higher skill level than everyone else in the game, but they're getting closer to you, and that's what makes a difference. So because of this, there's a feeling of Elo Hell right below the rank you think you deserve. Now, if this player was somehow boosted up or got lucky and got to Diamond, he'd be able to maintain it because he is at that skill level. It's just getting there that is difficult. And actually, it works the same way in the opposite direction for people that placed too high this season, because placements were a little bit crazy this season. Nobody's denying that. I'm sure you've heard streamers, maybe even myself, say, this guy was gold last season. How is he 3,800? Is there a real way he's improved that much? Well, it's possible, yes, but it's more likely that they placed a little bit too high. Maybe they got lucky in their placements, or they just played exceptionally well in them, and then this concept is working in the reverse direction. As they're getting down to the rank they actually deserve, it's easier to win games. That 20% of games gets easier and easier as they fall, so they never actually fall to the rank they play at, and that creates a lot of, people at ranks they don't deserve. hopefully this all makes sense to you. If it does, be sure to leave a like down below and tell me what you think, because this I do think is the true representation of Elo Hell. Not a set zone, not an area you can't escape. It's more of a mindset and a statistical analysis of, well, wins and losses. So hopefully this was helpful. Like I said, if it was, be sure to leave a like down below. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Lone Hawk out.